Welcome to the Empowering Choices podcast. Today we are talking about how busy should your children be.
So this was a note that we had that we should talk about anyway because it's important. And then it was also inspired by a conversation I was having with one of my clients yesterday who's a mom. So this is one element of children's busyness, and this was her experience. So she has a child who has kind of a recent ADHD diagnosis and was trying to figure out how to help him be less grumpy and in everybody's space and stuff. Mm-hmm. So he is of the age where he can, he's relatively young, so he's kind of getting his first opportunity to like do all the sports things. So she's signed him up for basketball and she's signed him up for baseball in the spring. And then they're also a family that does like equestrian stuff. So she's like, maybe should I have him do the rodeo on top of all of those things? So she was just literally in my office yesterday, like asking that and thinking through that. And we were talking through that. And then she was talking about her own experience. And she said, I did all the sports and I did rodeo simultaneously and I loved it. And I woke up and I went to school and then I went to practice and then I came home and then I rode my horse until 9 o'clock at night. And then I went to bed and it was great. And I'm like, okay. So, and it's like, okay, so that worked for you and your child is 50% you and also not identical to you. And you're going to give this a try. And that's where we left the conversation off. Cause she signed him up for basketball and signed him up for baseball and she's going to see how it goes. So that's one slice of children being busy and where that family is with those things. How busy were you, Josh? What kind of stuff did you get signed up for? You loved football and baseball,
true,
I know.
Yes. Yeah, I did that for a very short period of time.
Weeks.
I feel like I was pretty, this is kind of what's interesting. I feel like I was pretty busy, but I was busy doing things I wanted to do. And I feel like most of the things that my parents tried to get me to do were the things that I actually didn't like and I tried to get out of.
I wonder if that's almost the more important part of the conversation is like, should children do things? Yes.
Right.
And then it's more like, it's not should children do things, it's what things should they do? Because you could hypothetically have a kid, I don't know, maybe an older kid, who's busy at home working on, I don't know, painting or something.
Right.
Right. And they're busy, but they're not in, I don't know, they're not in art class like they should be or something. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. Like, I mean, when I was a kid, doing computer stuff and electronics, in school was not as common as it is today. There weren't robotics programs and all of that.
You'd have been all over those.
Yeah, but we didn't have that. So I had plenty of stuff going on that I would do at home.
Right, like set me loose on Radio Shack and a couple of wires and a soldering gun and I'll be set.
Yeah, and I would do that. But then, my parents were like, my dad played all these sports. And so then they're like, oh, well, you need to do that. And I'm not a sports person, but they would stick me out there doing it. And I was, I think probably one of the best examples was my dad wanted to, this was when I was getting a little older, but I mean, maybe junior high, play baseball, coach the team, talked about how we could have a setup thing outside practice, whatever. Well, I came and told him that I had been thinking about the setup for the outside practice, and I had a plan to run wire so that we could put all these lights so that we could do it at night, and that, but that was my thing, and he's he's on a different plane, and I'm thinking about the wires and the lights, and so yeah, for me, I just felt like a lot of the stuff, I didn't want to do it, and the things that I wanted to do, and I signed up for, and those kept me busy.
I wonder I think part of the conversation too is like being busy. Right. And then like, okay, what's the opposite of busy? Well, I mean, at one extreme, it's like bored. Right. And then, and what does that mean for kids? Because obviously there's kids who talk about being bored. Right. Is that good or bad? And I'd probably make the argument that like children should have the opportunity to be bored so that they're not like spinning so fast that they're overwhelmed. And then if they have some amount of space where they go, I'm bored. Like, well, that gives them the opportunity to like, think of things and be creative. But then again, obviously, for some kids, that would be a problem. So, like, it probably is very kid dependent, as we so frequently come back to on this.
Right. It's person dependent.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when I was a kid, we would say, I'm bored. And my parents would say, we spent a lot of money and bought you a room full of toys. And I would say, I've played with them all. And they would say, oh, that's interesting. Well, then our answer for if you're bored is we'll find something for you to do, which translated into chores.
Right. Yeah, you can clean the toilet.
Yeah, which I would then say, you know what, I'm going to go look at those toys again.
Exactly.
And within, 15 minutes, I'm actually playing with them in new scenarios that I never even thought of before. So, it curtails, but you have to have a plan. I mean, the parent has to have a thing that they say, because a lot of parents that I've seen, I'm bored, and they might say, go play with your toys. Well, they're old, and then they're like, okay, well, I've got nothing as a parent, and so they become their playmate. And I'm like,
Your parents' approach of I'll give you something to do is definitely the approach I would take.
It's a great...
there's toilets that need cleaning and dishes that need washed.
And you can come help me do those. That can be a piece. My parents also, when I was in grade school, they said they implemented now that you're in kind of upper grade school, which would be 4th, 5th, 6th grade, every semester, which, I mean, it was different then, you have to be doing something.
An activity that had a
4-H
name,
club, FFA, sport,
choir, band, chess club.
Yep, any of those things that has to be something you have to be enrolled in. And I was like, well, this will be easy. I don't want to do anything. So I'll just say there's nothing I'm interested in.
And they'll say that's not one of the options.
Well, no, they said if that is an option that you can choose. If there's nothing that seems interesting, we'll pick for you. Oh, crap. We're not doing that. Here goes home ec again.
Was that an extracurricular activity?
Well, no, it was something that I got thrown into in middle school because, something got messed with in, my schedule. And that became the home ec at that time always had openings.
I see.
And so I'm like, no, I'm not doing that, and they would sign me up for that, as a motivational piece.
I see. It was the running joke in your family if you want to do home ec again.
Yes. Well, and see, the thing is too, as parents, like my parents, there were certain things that we were going to learn. We were going to learn how to swim.
Oh, okay. So that was an activity that was going to happen.
That was a non-negotiable. All you had to do is learn how to swim.
Right. We want you to learn to not die in water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then after that, it was up to you. And, then there's a whole thing when I was in high school and first started high school, I was going to learn how to type. That was a non-negotiable that we have there in the parenting manual.
That was like learning how to do chores, and you're going to learn how to type and swim.
So with that piece that you had to pick an activity, that gets us out there to be able to sample a whole bunch of things. And I have seen, kids that it's like, and we put them in this, and we've got them in this, and this is good. And I'm going to tell you, I mean, I wished that my child was a huge sports lover. That would have been so great because they would have been a Rams fan. That's
I wanted to love sports, and it's gonna happen.
And a Dodger fan,
Right?
And and my son was just not interested in football. And I, as I was in that grieving process, and, I just happened to be. We were like at the mall one time, and my wife's like, "Hey, you should go get a new, Rams hat, while we're here." And I'm like, "That's a good idea." And so I'm in there and I'm looking
telling
around.
A kid they should go get a new piece of candy.
The stores were next to each other, by the way, so you could do both. And so I'm in there and I'm looking around and I'm salivating at the different ones that are in there. And then my son comes up and he goes, "Can I get a hat?" Yes, you can. And I pull like 3 down like I'm the salesman. And I turn and I'm like, which one of these Rams hats?
Which one of these
would
Rams
you
hats would you like?
And he goes,
Amazing.
None. And I'm like, well, I only have a couple more. And he goes, I want a different one. And I'm like, well, what do you want? And he has this hat and he brings it up.
He had it in his hand.
He had it in his hand.
Can I get a hat? By which I mean the one in my
this
hand.
One. And it's Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm like, seriously? And he goes, yeah, I like the colors.
Right. How many Americans favorite football team is they vote for the laundry.
Right.
I like the colors.
I like the colors. And I'm like, my wife's like, you wanted him to be a part of sports? Yes.
But not that kind.
Yes, you can get it. Yes, it's fine. And he did. He bought it. And, anytime I wear the Rams hat, he's wearing the Kansas City hat.
Because that's just the my dad has
Right.
and I have. And
Yep.
we're
watching football and he'll come out with a Kansas City hat, and there's been many, many times where people will look at us and go, oh, it must be fun with football in your house, and I'm like, he likes the hat. I mean, he comes in and out of the game and doesn't even know exactly what's going on. He knows how it's played and things of that nature. And if I can't, if I happen to go and do something else, he takes it upon himself to update me on every single score.
Every single score change
of every single game being played.
Of every single game currently being played.
He has a really different slant on these pieces. My point
and your
being,
children will too.
Right. I would have loved it if he would have played sports. I did. We did get him into some sports, especially ones that he, did show some interest. It just wasn't going to happen.
So you and Josh's dad can share some empathy around. I wish my kid was into sports.
Yes, there. We should probably have a ritual party of grief. But you move on. You look at what it is that your child really wants to do. And what I was hearing from your client is that she would love them to have the same experience that she had.
Well, I genuinely think that her perspective was, my kid's having a hard time and I'm trying to figure out how to solve it. And this is what worked for me.
Yep.
And we're going to give that a shot. And I didn't hear her desperately wanting her kid to be interested in all of the things she was interested in. I think she was using it as a tool and actually she reported that she said, my mom, so kid's grandma, my mom said, keep him busy, keep him busy, keep him busy, because that's what worked for you. And then the mom. So I didn't hear her desperately saying I want my kid to like what I like. She goes, I really want him to stop being angry and swearing at me in the house so that he's
well, and what I was hearing is that this worked for her and she thought that the same recipe might work for him. And I've had, teenagers whose parents were like, I'm just going to keep them busy with as much of a certain sport as possible. And that keeps them out of trouble. And I'm like, so does spending time with them.
Sure. I mean, there's a truth to that.
There is.
But and there's variations. Yeah.
Also has to be something that they would like to do. I was very busy throughout high school, stacked up with a bunch of stuff I wanted to do, not a bunch of stuff that my parents wanted me to do. And fortunately, they got all those non-negotiables out before high school.
Swimming and typing. And
Well, typing was our freshman year, but it was just the first semester. That was going to be it, and that was it. And she's like, I'll never interfere again unless you get Fs. And I'm like, I will never get Fs.
An interesting part of the story, from my client yesterday, and this is kind of like a surprise. So she said that her son, who is very rambunctious and high energy and has ADHD, found chess and seems to like chess.
That's great.
And we were both talking and going, that is not what you would expect, right? Because chess is like a quiet, thoughtful thinking game. And it's like, well, okay, great. How, is this something that we can lean on? And that's definitely why I say she wasn't trying to ramrod her interests down his throat, because she went, how can we make chess a thing? Let's go for that.
No, I wasn't hearing that she was trying to ramrod it.
But
that is what you do, is you find those different things and then you pump those different things. One of the boys that we had in our home, prior to coming to our home, his coping skill was when he would get angry, his skills trainer would take him outside to the basketball hoop and they would just shoot hoops. And gosh, it was after the first year that he was in our home, and he came to me and he said, I want to play basketball. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because he had fetal alcohol, he had some really big types of diagnosis, and I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work.
And he meant join a team.
When he
said, okay,
yep, and play. And I went, you know what? I'll take you to tryouts.
Sure.
And they would just let the tryouts,
This was in high school for him?
this was in middle school.
Middle school. Middle school had tryouts.
Middle school had tryouts.
Holy smokes, competitive school for basketball.
I think he was 7th grade at that point. And so he went there. He was a part of the tryouts. He was dribbling the ball. Someone stole the ball. He took a swing at them, and then he chased them. And then the other kids shot the ball, and then they ushered him out of the tryout.
Right, and then tryouts were over.
No, the tryouts were still going.
No, for him they were over.
Yeah.
No, they actually were still going. I was like, okay, I was starting to put my coat on, and they put him back out. And I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on.
That's a very tolerant tryout staff.
Well, the coach came to me at the end, and I thought, okay, because he did. He came out, and he really gave it his all, and he gave it a great shot. And, I was really proud of him for doing that. And coach came over to me. The coach is like 86. He has been playing basketball since the time he could walk. He was a big-time player. He was a big-time college coach. He was a big-time high school coach. Now he's just in retirement, and he's just, here doing middle school. And so he comes over, and he goes, about your son. And I'm like, I am so sorry. He's never played before. I know I saw him take that swing at the kid. And he goes, oh, what, that? Oh, no, that's nothing. I can take care of that easy. I just needed to know, does he take medications in the afternoon, and what time do I need to make sure he gets them? I'm like, wait a minute.
Wait, hold on. Wait, slow down. Say all of that again.
He made the team, and the guy looks at me and goes, yeah. He goes, why wouldn't he? Your son has a 3-point shot that can't miss.
And as far as that was accurate.
And I'm like,
because he spent so much time shooting
yes,
hoops to blow his anger off.
I'm like, you saw him take a swing, right?
Right.
He goes, oh yeah, don't worry about that. I've got, my whole life has been this game. I can take care of that. I really can.
Hilarious.
He goes, but I want that shot. And we're going to write plays for that shot.
For his middle school team.
For his middle school 7th grade team.
He's going to have a hard time following plays.
And I'm like, 4:00 is when he...
Right.
So we go.
It's amazing.
I went to a game one time at a different school, and they put him in. And after these plays had been written, and what he has to do is he just goes to the lower wing, and he just waits there right outside the 3-point line.
Sure, yeah, be here.
And they go down, and they get him the ball, and he shoots the ball. He made 6 3-pointers in that game. The other team's family was so on their feet cheering for him over even their own kids, because it was very obvious he had struggles.
Sure.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing and a wonderful lesson.
Yeah.
This is what he wanted to do. This is what he was interested in. I even thought, this is never going to work.
Sure. But you gave him the opportunity, which is so important, even if, you had it in your head. This is never going to work, and we're going to expose him to the opportunity.
I didn't know what kind of a 3-point shot he had, because I was never out there, because I wasn't there when he was out there shooting. And so...
Because he did that on his own at that point.
Did that on his own. And because of his disabilities, I had offered to shoot baskets with him. That was something he did with his skills trainer.
Oh, it was just like, no, you are not.
You're not in that box.
You're not the person for the thing.
Exactly.
Amazing.
And so, you explore things with your kids. Let the different, I took my son to do basketball. He wanted to try that. And the coach there, I was the only parent at the practice. And he was looking at me like, why are you here? And
for the tryouts?
This wasn't tryouts. This was team practice.
Okay, so he'd been on the practice, and you were the only one.
He was on there, and it was like one of the first or second practices. I think it was the first practice. And I said, "Listen, this is not about you. This is not me saving him from you. This is me saving you from him." And he's like, "I'm Mormon. I have 11 children of my own. I think I got this.
I can handle children. Don't you worry about it."
And I'm like, dude, I have full faith in you. No problem. I'll be up there studying, because I was doing my master's at the time. And you let me know if you need anything. And so I'm just up there reading, some of our assignments. And then about 20 minutes later, I hear this excuse me, Mr. Denton. And I look up, and my son is off in the background. He has the ball, and he's running all over the gym, getting everyone to chase him. And he's like, you know that part about saving me from him? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, I think I need your help. 11 kids did not set me up for this. And I'm like, all right.
Your son is not an average child, which apparently he was not aware of.
And I totally get that. But
Sure.
that was the thing. My son wanted to play. We went there to try.
Right. You gave him the opportunity.
It didn't work out.
And then if he ever says, but I want to play basketball, you can say, well, you remember when we tried?
Right.
Like we.
Well, he didn't ever come back and say that.
Sure, but you would have that available if he did. Yeah.
The one thing he did call me in high school and say I signed myself up for was wrestling.
Okay.
To which I said, I can't get you there. I don't think this is going to work.
There was a logistical problem rather than anything else.
Yeah, and he was a little disappointed at the time, but
I signed myself up for wrestling.
Right. He's like, I signed myself up for wrestling and Mensa.
Mensa being I'm trying to remember what that stands for. It stands for something.
Right. Yeah. The Genius Club.
Right. Yeah. Mental excellence. Something. Yeah.
Yep. And I'm like, you signed yourself up for Mensa? And he goes, yeah. I said, why? He said, because they had all these booths and they said anyone could sign up. And I'm like, there it was, right there. Because this is the guy that...
He took him at face value.
He did. This is the guy that used to call Japan just to get anyone on the phone because he was looking for someone that didn't get anyone who told them good morning.
He wanted to make sure that everyone had the opportunity
in Japan had
told
a good morning. And I'm like,
he was going to call them.
Oh, you do not get a phone. And I'm like, okay, can't do wrestling because I can't get you there. Number one. Number two, I think you should go back and have some more conversations about what the Mensa Club does.
Right. What do they do? And would that be for you?
Yes. He said, yeah, they have fun things. Okay, go find out those fun things.
Tell me what they are.
Yeah. And when I was able to get him later, that afternoon, he goes, yeah, Mensa's not going to work.
Okay.
I'm like, well, how come? I don't know, but they just said that they didn't think I was good fit for them.
Oh, interesting. So he started having a conversation and they said,
yeah. But they said that I could come and help them at any given time. I'm like, that you should do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think he did it a couple times.
So rather than, our title, we're not, how busy should children be? And it's like, well, it depends.
Yeah.
What does your child need? You should give them opportunities that seem in line with their interests and then give them a big, broad spectrum of opportunities. I don't know if opportunities. There are some requirements that maybe your children should be involved in, like typing class.
Sure.
And that's like a parental decision. And then you should tell them they should try water polo and try track and
You also have to take a look at your family. Is having everybody maxed to the hilt
right
good for the family?
No.
And
in all likelihood, no.
Right. I mean, I have a family right now and they're like, we are so sick of basketball. We are just waiting for this to be done and over because it's not like when I did basketball in grade school, it was right after school.
Oh, uh-huh.
And that was in a small town in Eastern Oregon. Okay. Now you're talking Salem and a bigger city. This is our state capital. And so you have to change around the different places where you get to practice and play because grade school is looking for a gym, middle school is looking for a gym, high school is looking for a gym. And, even the athletic clubs, some of the middle school and high schoolers go to there to be able to practice their sport, which means you might not be able to practice or because a lot of grade schoolers, they'll practice, then play their game that same day. You're not home till 9:30 or 10, and you still haven't had much food and the bedtime routine is way off. Then they get up the next day and they're tired, so you have to put in where are we at as a family? How is this working? Can we do this? Are we able to, how's our teamwork as, mom and dad? You know, are some, is mom able to take some people one way and dad able to take other people another way? How is this working? I know when we had kids at the home, one of the boys we had wanted to 3-sport it, but because he was a 24-hour run risk, everybody had to go with me to every practice and game. To which they didn't mind, they liked it, but it would be a problem if they didn't want to go. And now my wife and I have to figure out how to team that out and make other options available.
Yeah.
And so, what kind of pressure is that putting on the family, and what are the ways that you can be able to do that?
Right.
How realistic is it?
And I do think, kind of coming back to the, knowing your kid, which we talk about a lot, but some kids need downtime.
Yep.
And
100%. All kids need downtime.
Yeah, and you've told the story about you not realizing it, but being told you were going to be having some downtime, and that being good. So I do feel like there's also that responsibility to try to figure that out and how much they need, and then put that in the schedule.
Well, I talked to one of my teenagers a couple of weeks ago, and they were going to go to their sport practice later that day. And they were like, I kind of don't want to go. I'm just getting over the flu.
Oh, goodness.
And they're like, I don't know if I can convince my mom. And I'm like, okay, why would your mom want you to go? And the ethics of mom are, if you sign up for it, you must be there or you're wasting people's time. And I'm like, how does the flu not trump some of that? And that's what we as parents have to look at, where are our places that we're kind of trapped into that aren't giving our kid, okay, you got over being sick, but you're still, because when you have the flu or, you get sick in some of these different ones, you still may feel weak, you still may not feel good and have a cough, and then it can come back, or, you still got some of those symptoms. So how does that play into our ethics as parents of what people think? And so you got to know that about yourself, because that can play into your child's long-term sticking with anything.
There was an experience not too long ago where one of my kiddos was sick and missed a church activity. And my wife said, she goes, we're going to keep her home. She's sick. She goes, she had perfect attendance until today. And so she had that thought.
Yep.
And she goes, but she's sick. So,
right.
But like, it's just, she noticed, she's like, I'll poop,
Yeah. I remember having an argument in high school with the athletic director in the high school, or I think it was vice principal at that time. And he wanted to know why I was leaving school to go to the dentist. And I'm just looking at him like, why are you asking me this question? And he's like, well, I'd like to know what the reason is you're missing school. And I said, because my mom said I can, and she set up the appointment, and he's like, well, maybe your mom doesn't value school the way that she really should.
The way she should.
And I'm like, oh, dude, I can't believe you just said that, because my mom was very well known to the school in a good way, but he was new.
He was new.
He was new. And I could tell that his value was school comes first before anything. And he even mentioned,
I wonder what his family thought about that. Anyway,
he mentioned in that thing, when I went to high school, to grade school, to middle school, I had a perfect attendance. I did not miss anything for any type of any activity. It was all put in the off time.
Well, I was thinking what his current family as an adult administrator thought about his current perspective and how often he was home and went to his kids' sports stuff.
Right. No idea on that part.
Right.
And he's like, I think that this should be different and you should not be missing school. And I'm like, I just signed myself out. And he goes, I really need to talk to your mom. I'm like, you don't want to.
You haven't met my mom, have you? No? Got it.
And then I went, yes, you do need to talk to my mom. Because I'm like, man, I'm going to miss this whole show. And so I brought my mom in, and she went up one side of him and lit down the other side of him. as for those are his values, and he can keep his values, and she could help him, tell him where he could put his values. And about that time, the principal was out there.
And went, oh, hi.
Yeah, he noticed the crowd. And then he was like, Mrs. Denton, I've got this. Why don't you take your son to the dentist's office? And then he lit into the vice principal as to what the laws stated that a parent could do in scheduling different things for their child at their discretion. And his perfect attendance didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
yeah, but you're right. That lingering thought in our culture, this perfect, this keep this, you know, what people think, or the value of what it's going to give us in the future, and some of those answers are not much.
Sure. What is the value of perfect attendance? You might get a sticker.
You might get a sticker. Josh has a sticker over there. Was that for perfect attendance?
It was.
Okay.
At sleep time. No. Yeah.
Perfect attendance.
Yeah.
You know, I probably have never missed a sleep, so maybe I should get.
Yeah.
No, there was that one time. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, so, okay. Yeah, that's some very fascinating stuff.
We continue to come back to the same things of like, how busy should your
Right.
children be? Well, you should know your child.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So much of it comes back to that.
Well, and some of the pressure that parents are feeling is, well, isn't that what you're supposed to do? You know, look for those supposed tos and see what they're attached to, and then see what your child wants to do. While at the same time, kids think out of the emotional center of the brain, so they may want to just be at home watching TV, playing on their tablet, playing on their phone. And I totally hear wanting them to be more involved in life. We got certain amounts of time to watch TV, and the rest of it was play in your room, play outside. You know, these are the options that you have. And it helped us to be very involved in life and in creating creativity.
Yeah. Well, let us know in the comments how you manage activities with your kids, and if you try to do it the same for all of them, or if you've kind of realized that each kid is different, and you know, if you've ever been sort of guilty of doing something because it was something that you felt like should be done, like perfect attendance, versus, you know, maybe letting them miss because they're sick. So we'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next show.